Hello, welcome everyone. So my name is Ricky Volante, and I will be your speaker for today. So what will be our topic for today is that we will be handling the exam overviews. So we will be covering three exams for today. So we do have a 90-minute session. So we will be a little bit crunch on the time, but we'll try to cover everything, right? So we'll be covering three exams. So the first one will be the vSphere Foundation Administrator, which is the VCP VVF. And then the other one will be the VMware Certified Professional VMware Cloud Foundation Administrator. And then the other one is the Architect version. So there are a lot of exams which was released, and based on the surveys that we have noticed that these there are the three exams that most of the folks are currently taking. Now, what we'll be covering is that the exam overview, the exam sections, some sample review questions. So the team and I have prepared 5 questions for each. These questions are not from the exams, but we made it, and then we will be what we will do is that these exams will be shown in these questions will be shown to you, and then these questions will be tied into the learning materials that we have. Also, we will be covering study resources as well as the tips for you to be successful in taking the exam. Right. So now, without further ado, let me just turn off my video so I can preserve some bandwidth, and then let's go. Right. So as I mentioned, we will be talking about first the VMware BCP for vSphere Foundation Administrator. Right. So Right. So what is this exam all about? Okay. So the VMware Certified Professional VMware vSphere Foundation Administrator, or the VCP VVF Admin, right? It's a certification which validates the skills required to deploy, manage, and support private cloud environments built on VMware vSphere Foundation, or VVF, right? Now, this certification is designed for IT professionals expanding from traditional infrastructure roles to a cloud admin role. So candidates for this certification includes professionals responsible for implementing and maintaining their VVF infrastructure. Okay, so for the details of the exam, so the VMware vSphere Foundation 9.0 administrator, or the exam with the exam code 2V0-16.25, leads to the VMware Certified Professional vSphere Foundation Administrator. So it is a 60-item exam with a passing score of 300 using the scaled method. So candidates are given an appointment time of 135 minutes, which includes adequate time to complete the exam for non-native English speakers. So the delivery for the exam is through Pearson VUE, right? It can be physical or virtual. And then the format of the exam is multiple choice selection, right? So there is what we call a minimally qualified candidate, or a minimally acceptable candidate. So these are the candidates that can deploy, configure, and manage a VMware vSphere Foundation solution. So the candidate should have experience working with the VVF solution or its components. So what are the components that are included with VVF, right? So VVF components includes vSphere, which includes vSphere, vCenter, as well as ESX, vSAN, VCF operations, and VCF operations for logs. So if you are planning to take this exam, it is better that you have understanding on the underlying components of VVF. Okay. Now, let's talk about the exam blueprint. So this is very important. The exam blueprints is where it's how the exam is being made, right? So the questions for the exams are based on these exam sections. So VMware has standardized the sections into 5 sections. So this includes the IT architectures and technologies, products and solutions, planning, design of the VMware solution. Section 4 is installation, configuration, and administration. And number 5 is troubleshoot and optimize. Now, question is, how are we going to prepare for it? Right? So, yeah, Ricky, you provided the sections, but what kind of information are we going to look into? Right? Now, let's look into section number let's say section number 2, right? So VMware vSphere fundamentals, right? So under section 2, this is where the virtualization fundamentals will be discussed. So you may be asked here on the description of the principles of virtualization. What are the you may be asked what are the use cases for a virtualization solution, right? And what is the value proposition for virtualization? Also available for section 2 is configuration of vSphere cluster, deployment and configuration of a virtual machine, management of a virtual machine through vCenter, right? As well as using content libraries to manage resources. So also available in section, excuse me, also available in section 2 are storage fundamentals, which may include questions about vSAN, right? As well as if you are aware of VMFS or traditional storage, you may be asked under section 2 as well. Now, when it comes to resilience, data availability, it is also included. Now, for section 4, the questions around here is more on the deployment and configuration. So, you will be asked if you will be given a scenario, you need to answer specific or scenario-based questions describing deployment of a vSphere Foundation environment, right? What do you need to do, right? What are the tools that you need to use? When it comes to management, role-based access. So also well, you may be asked here about configuration management and configuration license management as well, right? Certificates, you will be asked on how we're going to do it. So there are a lot. So we will be once we've shared the deck with you, once we've shared the information, there is at the end of the slide there is a resource page where in which all the resources, all the blueprints will be provided for you, right? So this is kind of a lot when it comes to sections. So we will not go into each and every details when it comes to the section because you may just read it and check it in advance, right? But my tip for you when it comes to VVF is the best one is if you have experience with the solutions before, it is very beneficial for you because one of also is when it comes to section 4, you will be asked on how are you going to operate, deploy, and manage VCF operations as it is part of VVF, right? Now, for those of you who will be asking, Ricky, you've mentioned a lot of sections. Now, how do I prepare for it, right? Let's just say that I've used VMware, vSphere, ARIA operations, right? Before, if you're aware of the old name of VCF operations, it's ARIA operations. Now I want to upgrade what I want to upgrade my certifications. What training do I need to take? Or if you are new with VVF, right? What training do I need to take? That's the answer is this one. So we have a training. It is available at Training at Broadcom. It's also available if you're going to have a VMware Education Delivery Partner or a VEDP. So this is the VMware vSphere Foundation Build, Manage, and Operate. Now, Before you ask questions, I say that it is a recommended training, right? If you are with VMware a long time ago, you may be asking Ricky or Jay, Michelle, um, do I still need to take the training? Is it required for me to take the training before I take the certification? The answer is no. If you are confident, if to take the exam, and then if you have experience with vSphere, ARIA Ops, vSAN before, then and you think you can pass, then by all means you can do it, right? Now it is a recommended training, so this provides you with an overall with the section that I've shown you before. This is will provide you with all the learnings, right? So this is a 5-day course if it's from a VEDP, right? It provides you with the knowledge, skills, and abilities to achieve competence in deploying, configuring, and management of VMware vSphere Foundation. From this course, you will learn about the architecture of vSphere Foundation, compute, storage, network, as well as licensing. Uh, Taking this course will prepare you to administer a vSphere Foundation, which includes VCF Operations 9.0, vCenter, as well as ESX 9.0, right? So I just want to highlight this is not a required training. So if you want to if you want to go ahead and take the exam, you can, by all means, you can take the exam. If you want to update your knowledge, if you want to refresh your knowledge, you can take this training, right? You may take it from our VEDPs, or you may also take it from Learning at Broadcom, right? So just part of this course, definition of use cases, capabilities of vSphere Foundation, navigating VCF operations, right? Configuration and such. So what we will be doing later is that, as I mentioned, we will be doing some sample questions. So in the sample questions, we will be tying the questions with the blueprints as well as that training that we have. All right. So now we will be talking about sample questions. As I mentioned earlier, the team and I have prepared 5 questions for you. So these are the questions that we just made up, right? But it will be tied into the blueprints as well as the training, because we cannot provide you with the exact or reproduce the exam content because it will violate usage and fairness policy. All right. But it's mostly like what you will be questions or the experience that you will be having. All right. Now, I hope that you have cleared the chat already. If you have any questions or clarifications, please proceed to the Q&A chat box, because we're going to use the chat box for our answers. Right? Now, are you ready? I hope so. Right? Let's go for question number 1. Okay. Right. So in a storage policy for a vSAN PPF environment, you choose a failure of FTT1 or failures to tolerate 1 as a policy. Now, what is the minimal number of hosts required in a vSAN cluster to satisfy this policy? You may put it in the chat box. I'll give you maybe 1 to 2 minutes. Right? Some answers 3 hosts, some answers 2 hosts. So if you have any questions, clarifications, please use the Q&A chat box. So also, this is also one way for us to capture. And if you have follow-up questions, we can also cover it from there, right? Okay. All right. So, in the interest of time, okay. The answer is three. All right. So the answer is three hosts. Now, to tolerate one failure, or let's just say the failure to tolerate is equal to one in a vSAN cluster, vSAN needs at least three hosts. So one primary, one replica, and one witness, right? To maintain a quorum and redundancy. So this falls under the storage fundamentals, under the virtualization and storage fundamentals in the blueprint area, right? So this is part of section number 4. Section number 2, as it is mostly on the storage fundamental area. All right. Okay. Are you ready for section question number 2? Let's see. All right. Which statement describes the role of vCenter in the vSphere Foundation 9.0 environment? Right. So what does it do? Does it does it do storage management or purely storage management? Does it manage a CSXI, clusters, VMs, storage networking? Is it for licensing or it runs virtual machines? Okay. Hmm. I think most of you got it correctly with letter B, right? So the answer is letter B, right? So vCenter server provides the centralized management for ESXi hosts, right? Clusters, VMs, networking, storage. And this is included in the blueprint for install, configure, and administration of VMware components. So it's section number 2, right? As well as section number 4 for components, right? So this section emphasizes knowledge in vSphere components. So you will be asking this when you go through the blueprint, section number 2 and section number 4, specifically for the component section, it will provide you with the information on each and every components and how they relate to each other. Okay, right. Now let's go for question number 3. Let's see. Okay, so which of the following best describes why virtualization, ESXi plus vCenter, vSphere is beneficial for organization? Hmm, a lot answering B. Really? Is it letter B? Mhm. Can see a lot of familiar names in the chat box. Okay, okay. Let's see. Let's see. Well, before I proceed with showing you the answer for question number 3, just a little bit of trivia for you, right? What is the difference between ESXi, vCenter, and vSphere? Because if you are with um, VMware long enough, right? Most of us interchange the ESXi version with vSphere version, what is what um the vCenter version, right? Okay. Now, just this is just a trivia for you, right? So ESXi, I see in the chat box, I see most of you are correct, right? ESXi is the hypervisor, right? Now, vCenter is, as mentioned earlier in one of our questions, I think the question before, it is the management, right? What's now vSphere is the combination of both ESXi and vCenter, right? Okay. So the combination, vSphere is the combination of ESXi or the hypervisor plus the management, right? Now, going back after our short trivia, the answer is, hey, it's not showing there. There you go. It's letter B. So most of you got it correctly, right? So virtualization allows better resource utilization, isolation, as well as provisioning. So it is included in the vSphere Foundation fundamentals. So this is around section number 2. If you're going for the training, it is also included in the course objective under vSphere Foundation Compute, right? So this section emphasizes understanding of virtualization principles, use cases, as well as value virtualization that brings to the business. Right. Now let's go for question number 4. So an enterprise requires high availability and resource balancing across its ESXi host for running VMs. Which vSphere feature should be configured? So you pick 2. We have 2 answers here. I'm sorry for flooding your chat. We used to do this with the poll and quiz, but because of timing, we cannot create the quizzes. Some of you are answering A and B. Is it not vSAN? Oh, is that content library or yes? You pick 2 answers. Some of you are answering just one. Just pick A. Just a reminder, right? If you're going to take the exam and then it says that you have to pick 2, please pick 2. Because I've seen some test takers in which they forgot to pick. There are questions in the exam in which you are going to pick more than 2. So there are pick 3. So please make sure that you read the questions properly. It's very important that you read the questions properly, as well as how many answers you need to pick. Because if you missed one, then it may affect your score or your rating, right? Now, answer for this one is vSphere HA or high availability and vSphere DRS or distributed resource scheduler. So high availability as well as resource balancing are the classic vSphere resource management capabilities. So this is included in the compute fundamentals section. So it is part of the cluster configuration as well as resource management. So it's part of, I think, section number, objective, section number 2 in the blueprints and, no, section number 4 in the blueprints and it is in the course outline under foundational in when it comes to compute. Okay, right. Now, let's talk about question number the last question for our VBF exam overview, right? Now, you need to implement a an encryption for workloads in your VBF, right? So even if the host OS is compromised, the requirement calls for which of the following feature? I think we made the question so easy for this one. Yeah, I agree. It's easy. It's easy for this one. I think I should have put in some trick questions. Right. Okay. So I think we all know the answer for this one. Okay, so we do have an open question here. Wait. I'll show you the answer first, and then let's answer one of the open questions in Q&A. Right? Okay. So for this one, the answer is letter B, right? VM level encryption, and it is part of the secure workload and operations blueprint. It's under virtualization fundamentals. So you should have this kind of questions is trying to ask you on how are you going to properly configure workload encryption with in a vSphere foundation environment. Okay, right now let's before we proceed with the VMware Cloud Foundation administrator, I'm just going to check one of the questions in the Q&A, right?
Yes, Ricky, there's a question. I think Michelle would like to answer this. So, Michelle, you are good to
No,
answer.
that's the question, Ricky, that I messaged you about.
Yeah.
Would you like me to read it out?
Okay. No. So the question is that in an environment where a vCenter server is deployed in a clustered license with a vSphere standard, so it is no okay. It is generally supported for vCenter to manage other clusters that uses vCF license. For example, if an organization operates a standard vSphere cluster for managing purposes and a separate workload, right? Cluster. So the question is that um are we allowed to use mixed licenses, right? So this is the just the summary of the question. So um the answer is no, right? So uh like the example here, we don't have vSphere standard anymore. So the vSphere edition, which is included in VVF, is vSphere Enterprise. Okay. So if you're going to look at it, if you're going to check the what is included with vSphere Enterprise is VVF uses vSphere Enterprise, which is also what is BCF is using, right? Now, the question is here is that um is it okay for us to use mixed licensing, right? Now, question is no. So if you have a vSphere, if you have a VVF environment, then it should be handled by the same vCenter or a separate vCenter aside from what is being used by VCF. Okay, why? Because there is in VCF9 there's a licensing audit, so it may have an issue for you. Okay, so yeah, so it's my recommendation for you is that if you're going to have a mixed environment, keep it separate. So keep VCF and VPF separated. Okay, so if it's going to be a small VCF environment, you can look into a VCF Edge. You can look as well as VCF Edge for licensing. Okay. I hope I answered your question. Right. Now, let's go for the VMware Cloud Foundation Administrator exam. Okay. Hey, my pointer is not working. There you go. Right. Now, we do have the VMware Certified Professional VMware Cloud Foundation Administrator, or the VCP VCF Admin, right? So this certification validates the skills required to deploy, manage, and support private cloud environments built on VMware Cloud Foundation, or VCF. So this certification is designed for IT professionals expanding from traditional infrastructure, right? So this candidates includes which has the responsibility in implementing and maintaining VCF infrastructure, right? So now, question is that oh no, I'll hold the question for now, right? Now, this exam has an exam code of 2V0-17.25, which leads to the VCF BCF administrator. It's a mouthful, I know. It is again a 60-item exam with a passing score of 300, and then you are given an appointment time of 135 minutes. So it is also delivered by Pearson VUE, both physical and virtual. And then same format. It has multiple choice matching and sequencing, and multiple choice, multiple selection. All right. Now, for this one, as mentioned earlier with VCP VVF, we do also have a minimally qualified candidate. So for this one, before taking the exam, it is highly recommended. You should have knowledge in installation, configuration, and management, as well as performance of basic troubleshooting with VCF. So you should have knowledge in features, functions, and architecture of VCF, as well as its components, right? So now, question is, what are the components of VCF, right? In VVF, we have what? vCenter, ESXi, right? We have operations, vSAN, right? As well as VKS, or the vSphere Kubernetes Service. With VCF, we have additions, right? Now, we do have the same vCenter, ESXi, right? vSAN, but now, with VCF operations, but now we do have NSX, we do have VCF automation, right? So also we do have VCF fleet management, and this time VCF operations includes both networks as well as logs for operations for HCX. This is going to be tied with a question a while ago, in which why is it not a best practice to combine licenses, right? Because VCF has more features than the VVF, and it has more solutions underneath it, right? Now, to talk about the exam blueprint for the exam, right? The same, we do have the standardized 5 sections. So we do have uh the IT architecture, the VCF fundamentals, planning and design for section 3. Section 4 is installation configuration, and section 5 is troubleshooting. Now, just to give you an overview of each and every of the sections that we have, right? So, for example, in section number 2, the VCF fundamentals, right? So you will be asked, what is a private cloud, right? Right. So, description of a private cloud. When it comes to um, section 2 as well, as part of the objective is you should have knowledge or you have an idea of the VMware compute fundamentals, right? Deployment configuration of ESX and vCenter when it comes to storage, um, VMFS, vSAN, right? As well as network fundamentals. Now, because this is more than we have more solutions underneath VCF, so you need to have an idea, you need to study as well when it comes to networking, especially NSX and automation, right? Because it's also part of this one. As part of section 4, what are the components of VCF deployments? Management capabilities, network operations, as well as VCF operations, as well as VCF operations for logs. As part of VCF, so you will also be asked with VCF automation. So, how are you going to identify a use case for VCF operations? What are the components? How are you going to deploy a blueprint, such and scenarios, as well as configuration of region when it comes to VCF automation. Now, you will be asking, Ricky, you've said a lot of information. So how are we going to get ready for this kind of exam, right? So when you are trying to get ready for an exam, so this is also, well, we also have a training for this one. So the training for this one is the VMware Cloud Foundation, Build, Manage, and Secure. So as you see here, we do have a lot of information. So these are the objectives for each and every uh, the outlines for each and every objective, right? So this is a 5-day course if you're going to take it with a VEDP, as well as if you want to take it also with, you can also take it at Learning at Broadcom. So this is a 5-day course which provides you with the knowledge, skills, and abilities to achieve competence in deploying and managing, as well as operating, plus securing private cloud environment using VMware Cloud Foundation. So here you will learn about the architecture, PCF storage, network management, licensing certificates, as well as workload domains, availability, lifecycle management. So it also covers upgrade paths or upgrade scenarios, right? So this is a very interesting course because it doesn't only provide you with what are available or what are the components, it also provides you with the life cycle parts as well as security and upgrade paths. So what's interesting in this one is that, for example, you do have a customer or you are a customer who is already using DCF, right? Ricky, I'm already using DCF. So what's the difference between this one and this one, right? Now, it's much simpler to deploy VCF. If you can remember before, you do have you need to have an SDDC manager, or sorry, cloud builder, right? So from that cloud builder, now we have changed it into VCF installer. So we've upgraded it as well. I think I failed to mention it with VVF. It also covers, it's now being covered with VCF installer as well. So with VCF upgrade paths, going back, sorry, with VCF upgrade paths, you can you will also learn here. For example, you are currently using 5 VCF 5.0, 5.1, 5.2. How are you going to upgrade it into 9.0? If your hardware still allows it, right? So if you want to upgrade or if you want to refresh your knowledge when it comes to VCF, I highly suggest that you take this course, right? Because it also provides you with fleet management, right? Which is not available in older versions of VCF, right? Now, let's talk about some of our sample questions, right? Are you ready? Have you cleared the chat?
I think we should be good to go, Ricky. I will request all the attendees, please ask your questions in the Q&A tab. It's easy for us to if somebody's Q&A is not working, you need to enable it in, as you see the small dots in the Zoom functionality, and you should be able to ask the questions.
Ricky, just before you move on,
Hmm.
there are a few questions. I think people are a little bit confused between the two exams, the 16.25 and the 17.25. Can
Okay.
you please just explain that clearly?
Okay. All right. So let's go back. No worries, no worries. All right. Let's go back a little further. All right. So the 16.25, right? So this is going to cover the VMware vSphere Foundation 9.0 administrator. So, okay. So this is where, as you know, we've past after the acquisition, we've streamlined the solutions that VMware is offering, right? So we now have formerly we still have vSphere Standard, Enterprise, VVF, VCF, right? Now we have streamlined it into VVF, which is the VMware vSphere Foundation, and VMware Cloud Foundation. So the 16.25 or this one, the 2V0 1625, it is for the vSphere Foundation Administrator. So this exam basically covers vSphere, which includes vCenter ESXi, vSAN, VKS, or the vSphere Kubernetes service, as well as VCF operations. So those are the components which is included in vSphere Foundation, right? So we have to go back on how are we going, what are the components which are included with vSphere. Okay, now with 17.25, which is the VMware Cloud Foundation 9.0 Administrator exam. So this is a much more broader solution because this is the full stack of private cloud that VMware and Broadcom is offering. So it has much more the solutions are much more compared to VVF, as we do have uh, NSX, we do have VCF automation, as well as HCX. So what is HCX, if you may ask? I think I saw that in the Q&A a while ago. What is HCX? It is a hybrid cloud exchange. So hybrid cloud exchange is, am I muted? Can you hear me properly?
Yes, Ricky, we can hear you properly.
Okay, because I see that Ricky mic is muted.
No, Josella, we
that
can
was
hear. Maybe you want to check your audio system.
All right. So thank you, thank you. All right. So going back. So um this exam will cover the solution with VMware Cloud Foundation. So it's much more broader compared to the 2v0 16.25. So 16.25 only covers the components under VVF or vSphere Foundation. 17.25 has a broader so this one is more on the VCF components. So we have a question here. Is VCF9 build, manage, and secure training valid to take VCP VCF admin exam or not? Right? So it is enough, right? So that's why I posted it in our as our recommended training, the VCF9 Cloud Foundation Build, Manage, and Secure. Right? So it is enough if you want to get trained, if you want to update yourself with the VCF solution, it is enough, right? But it's not required, right? You may be confused on if it's going to be required training. The answer is not. No, the answer is no. Right. I think it has been covered in the former or in the session number 2 that the training is not required anymore, right? But if you want to prepare for the VCP VCF admin exam, you may take the build, manage, and secure training, right? Okay, so let's clear let's clear some questions in the Q&A. So there's a question here. So all of this is located in a data center, correct? Private cloud right now, as we have mentioned in the past sessions, or if you have attended if you're a partner, you have attended one of my webinars. So private cloud is not a location only. It is a working model, which means that it may be in a data center, right? You may deploy VMware Cloud Foundation in a data center. You may deploy it in a hyperscaler, or you may deploy it in a partner managed or co-location cloud environment. So it's not directly in a data center, right? So regarding the architecture exam, we will be covering it later. Just hold on. We're trying to clear up some questions in the Q&A. So there's a question here. Can this expand to the cloud? Definitely yes. So if you're going to if you want to expand, if actually it's not cloud is just an operating model, right? So if you want to go through a public cloud or hyperscaler, you can do hybrid cloud environments, right? So with VMware HCX, you can move environments from your on-premise to a hyperscaler, right? Without refactor a platform, both of which are using VMware Cloud Foundation, right? Okay. Okay. So let's before we proceed with the sample questions, let's just cover what is the main difference between VVF and VCF, right? Both of which are cloud environments, private cloud environments. But question is, what is the distinction of the other, right? What is the what is um, what is the benefit of using DVF and what's the benefit of using BCF, right? So we're just we're just going to tackle it for a couple of minutes because I still need to cover the architecture. But for the benefit of those who are attending, BVF is a much more it's targeted for customers which are maybe new into the environment or into the virtualization environment going into a much more mature or small medium enterprises, right? So they want virtualization, they want visibility, right? So those are the customers which are mostly being handled by BVF. Now, when it comes to BCF, it is much more targeted to large customers or those customers who want automation because as mentioned earlier, BCF is the full stack cloud offering solution of VMware. So it has all the functionalities of VVF plus additional components such as BCF automation. So BCF automation is the self-service portal, or it's like the cloud portal in which if a customer or an end user wants to request or wants to create a VM or a service, they can just go from there, pick the VM that they want to create, right? And then it will be created automatically, right? So it has functionalities like if you want to create a VM or if you want to create services or if you want to create containers, the blueprints can be created there. Also is much more is another function is the SDDC manager, which is which is the secret sauce, right? So it handles the lifecycle operations of the whole environment. And if you want to have a hybrid cloud environment, HCX or the hybrid cloud exchange is included as well in BCF, right? So thank you, Phil, right? All right, now, I think I'm here on this one, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so I just want to cover this one before I proceed. So the question is, um, what type of license editions? So we don't have license editions anymore. VCF is VCF. So you're going to have vSphere Enterprise, vSense Enterprise, all of all of the best editions that we have are packaged in VCF, also with PVF. So we don't go with the editions anymore. I know that some of you may be working with VMware for a long time, and we don't have the editions anymore, like vSphere Enterprise Standard. We don't have that anymore. So we're only offering VVF as well as PCF, right? Now let's go for I think I can go for the sample questions now. All right. Okay, so please guys, please clear the chat. Okay, guys, ready? Let's go for question number 1. So what is the purpose of a workload domain? So is it letter A, host the SDTC manager, provide separate management stack, compute, storage, network, manage NSX edge nodes, or host vSAN bits? Okay, so for the interest of time, I'm going to move quickly here, please. So please do understand. Okay, so for this one, the answer is, I think most of you answered correctly. It's letter P, right? So it provides a separate management stack. So workload domains allow logical separation of workloads with independent lifecycle resource and resource control. So you may look into section number 2 of fundamentals under workload domain concepts. So it's under as well. If you're going to go for the training, I think it's under here, private cloud overview and architecture, and workload domain. So it has a specific objective in the training as well. All right. So let's go for question number 2. Which VCF domain is mandatory in every VCF environment? Okay. Let's go for the answer. Of course, it's the management domain, right? The management domain hosts the vCenter, the NSX managers, and other core services. So if you're going to go back in our training, it is in the training available, it's under domain types and as well as overview and architecture. So it is where the domains are being discussed, right? Now let's go for question number 3. Which networking component provides overlay networking and distributed routing in DCF? So while you're answering, there's a question here. It's not like Nutanix that can expand into cloud through VMware Cloud Foundation can also be expanded to cloud using HCX, right? So you can it's the hybrid cloud solution. If you're going to on-premise as well as AWS or other hyperscalers available. Okay, so let's go for the answer. It's letter D, NSX. So I see some answering. So I put a little trick here, right? I saw some answering letter C, right? So it's please when you're answering, read the questions as well as the answers thoroughly, because one your pass fail can definitely go through or will depend on on each and every answer that you have, right? So for this one, it's NSX letter D, right? So it provides the overlay networks, gateways, as well as routing, and there's an add-on as well as for security. So for this one, it is under BCF networking in the objectives. And then in the blueprint, it's under section 4, network architecture. Okay. Question number 4, which operation requires host maintenance mode? Right? So is it adding an NSX edge node? Is it installation of certificates? Is it lifecycle remediation of ESXIs or creating workload links? So there's a question here, management domain and workload domain can be in the same cluster? Yes. So if you have a small environment or you want to try out BCF, there's a standard architecture which combines both management as well as workload domain. Okay, let's go for the answer here. The answer is letter C, ESXi remediation. So lifecycle remediation requires moving workloads from one node to another to enable so you have a non-disruptive in production, right? And enabling maintenance mode. So there is in VCF, starting with vSphere 8, there is what we call a partial maintenance mode in which you may not move your workloads from one host to another if you're going to do some patching. So that's called partial maintenance mode. And it is still being continued with and improved with VCF9. All right. But for the sake of this question, what do we need to do if we're going or in this, what are in the list of activities, what requires maintenance mode? Right. Right. So question number 5. What is required before creating a new virtual infrastructure workload domain? Okay, some are answering A, some are answering B. Oh, I see a C. Okay. Okay. Right. So let's answer letter B, commissioned host. So host must be commissioned first and compatible before creation. Now, I know some of you will react on this one. So let's go back. Right. So what is required before creating a new workload domain? So it means that you are now in the process of creating a workload domain. Some of you answered letter A, which is incorrect. Why? Because you are now in the process of creating a workload domain. So it means that you have already created your management domain, right? This one, if you have already created a new if you already have a management domain, you don't need to create a new one, right? So one management domain can cover several workload domains. For this one, a pre-created NSX segment, you may or you may not use NSX. So it depends on what is the use case of the customer, right? So if you want to use an overlay network using NSX, if you want to say um if you want to have distributed firewall as an add-on, you need to have NSX, right? Or you may not have. So it depends. So the question is, what is required before creating a new workload domain? Of course, you need to have host, right? Now, so this one is for the certified professional VMware Cloud administrator. Foundation, VMware Cloud Foundation architect. Okay, let's confuse you more. Right? So just a summary. So 16.25 is the VVF admin. 17.25 is the PCF admin, and 13.25 is the architect course or the architect exam. All right. Now, what is 13.25? So VMware Certified Professional VMware Cloud Foundation Architect is a certification that validates a candidate's skills in designing, right, VCF solution, including manageability, availability, performance, recoverability, as well as security. So it also asks the learner or the test taker to design or check his knowledge when it comes to designing, monitoring, capacity planning, migration, right? So if VCF admin is for those who are working with, or 17.25 or the VCF admin 9.0 architect is for those who are using, deploying, um, managing VCF solution. This exam is for those who are designing it, right? So this one, it validates the designing skills of VCF solutions. So it will include it will include the objectives of the AMPRS: availability, manageability, performance, coverability, and security. So you will be asked on in this exam, right? So that's for our blueprints. Now for the details of the exam. So this is so as mentioned, this is 13.25, 2B0 13.25. It's also a 60-item exam with the passing score of 300. You are also given 135 minutes. So it is also proctored by Person View. Okay. It also has a format of multiple choice selection. So you may be asked to answer, give 2 or 3 answers, right, on each and every item. Okay. So for our blueprints,
Ricky, just before you go to this exam, we just got asked what was the answer to the last question in the administrative session that you just had?
This one, it's letter B.
Thank you.
Yep. Just went back because when I showed the question, I went back because there may be questions. They may be confused with the answers.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Okay. Let's go back for our architect exam questions. Oh, sorry. Blueprints that we may have. Right? So as this is more on the architect and designing, it is the questions for this one is heavily on section number 1, section number 2, section number 3, right? So the questions may be covering those ones. You may be asked section 4, section 5, but not the question maybe not heavily focused on that one, right? So still standardized with 5 sections. So you may be asked with IT architectures, technologies, and standards. So you need to have a background when it comes to requirements gathering. So the differentiation between business and technical requirements, right? Conceptual model, logical design, as well as physical design. You will also be asked about or check your knowledge when it comes to differentiation of requirements, assumptions, constraints, and risk. Now, I mentioned it earlier about the AMPRS, availability, manageability, performance, recoverability, and security. Right? Also with risk mitigation strategy, design decisions. So also, why are you going to design it that way? And as well as validation strategy. Okay. When it comes to section number 2, you will be asked here on architecture options. So you have a standard architecture or high availability architecture, right? Analysis of the business objectives as well as requirements, conceptual model. So this one is more on the designing of things, right? Logical design, conceptual design of VCF management, networking, automation, as well as operations. Physical design, the fleet, network infrastructure, physical design, as well as storage as well. So if you're going to look at the blueprints for VCF architect exam, it's highly it's mostly targeted for design and architecture, right? Now, having said that, so this is the training that is recommended for this exam. So it is the VMware Cloud Foundation Solution Architecture and Design. So it is a course created for IT architects. So includes instructions on the architecture and design configurations of VMware Cloud Foundation. This course explains the architecture framework and language, as well as design considerations around building, consumption, and operationalizing of a VMware Cloud environment, VMware Cloud Foundation environment. Right? So as you see here, we do have the architecture frameworks. So here you will be you will learn about TOGAF and other architecture frameworks that are available. So it's not only focusing on designing VCF environment, it will also give you an overview and knowledge when it comes to other architecture frameworks such as TOGAF as well, right? So VMware Cloud Foundation overview. So as you see, it's more on design, fleet instance design, network design, storage design, management, workload, as well as design configuration, right? So this course and this exam is mostly targeted for those who are going to design a PCF environment. Okay.
One question on the chat, Ricky, because this person is having issues with the Q&A.
Okay.
If I completed build, manage, secure, automate, and operation training, am I eligible to take the architect exam?
Okay. So, as mentioned earlier, BCF admin, which is the direct build, manage, secure, automate, and operations training, or the recommended training for administrators. So it's for the BCF admin. It's the training mostly is in consideration of how are you going to install, deploy, manage, operationalize the environment, right? this course or the VCF Ad Architect exam is mostly on the design, which is how are you going to design it based on the solution, network design, storage, management, right? So you need to have the AM availability, manageability, performance, recoverability, and security in mind, as well as the requirements. So if you have a background with design and you know how to design it, a VCF architecture, or you have a background with VCF in designing VCF, then you may take the build, manage, secure to update yourself, but will it give you the in-depth insights or in-depth knowledge when it comes to designing VCF? I believe not, because we have a specific course specific for design. All right. So I hope I answered your question. So if you want more on this architecture or design, you may want to take this course because it will provide you with it's not only for VCF design, but also with the enterprise architecture of them, right? Okay, so we're going in for the sample questions for VCF architecture. I may go a little bit faster on this one because I have a somewhat longer study guide for you, right? So, which of the following should be captured as a constraint in your design requirements gathering in for VCF? Okay. So for this one, the answer is letter B, right? The answer is, so this is captured as a constraint in your design requirements, letter B. So we only have 10 gigs of fiber links between sites. So the answer is a constraint. A constraint is a limitation imposed by the environment, network capacity, latency, hardware cost, right? So the 10 gigs fiber link between sites is a real physical constraint. So the others are goals, aspirations, and future plans, which are better captured as requirement or assumption. Okay. Now let's go for question number 2. Oops, there you go. During design, you identify that some workloads will require GPU or accelerator support in the future. Where should you capture that in your design artifacts? So is it a requirement, a constraint, assumption, or a risk? Okay. Now, answer is letter A. It's a requirement. Now, the explanation for this is that if you reasonably expect that a GPU or an accelerator will be required, It is safer to capture it as a requirement so that the physical host, cabling, PCI slots, power cooling, and design of workload domains can accommodate it from the start, right? So some of you answered it as an assumption. It says that it's already required. Some of you answered it as a constraint and risk. So it's part of the requirements that in the requirement gathering phase, that some of which will require it from the future. So put it as a requirement so you can accommodate it, or you can start planning it from the start. All right. Now let's go for question number 3. Which of the following is not a valid step in design process framework for VCF planning? Is it letter A, identify business objectives? Letter B, define constraint, assumption, and risk? Letter C, immediately begin physical deployment? Or letter D, produce conceptual, logical, and physical design? So most of you got it correctly. Okay. Answer is letter C, right? So jumping immediately to physical deployment is skipping critical planning steps, right? A mature design process includes gathering the objectives, constraints, assumptions, right? Then moving through the conceptual, logical, and physical design before going through the deployment, right? Now let's go for question number 4. Which compatibility check is essential during planning of a VCF deployment? Okay, most of you got it correctly. Right. Answer is letter B. So you should ensure all hardware, NIC, storage adapters, and VMware hardware is in VMware compatibility list. So, of course, if you are going to design something, compatibility is fundamental. Please use the VMware Broadcom compatibility guides to validate all hardware, adapters, firmwares, driver version are supported with your VCF version, right? Also check the compatibility BOM. So doing this late and risk encountering unsupported configuration, right? Now let's go for question number 5 for architects. So this is our last question. So a requirement states that firmware and software updates must be applied without impacting running workloads. Which AMPRS they mentioned is primarily addressed, and what design approach supports it? So AMPRS is availability, manageability, performance, recoverability, as well as security. So some answered A, some answered B. I see a D here. Right. Okay. Right. So let's go for the answer. The question for this one is letter B, manageability. So you should use automated lifecycle. So as part of BCF, there is a function in which it provides you with automated lifecycle as well as planning for software and firmware updates. So non-disruptive upgrades are fundamentally a manageability requirement. So it's ability to maintain, patch, and evolve the environment without downtime, right? In BCF, the BUM or the bill of materials approach together with the lifecycle management automation supports staged non-disruptive upgrades, right? So one of the if you're going to look at it, the trade-off for this one is that it places constraint on compatibility version alignment and sometimes require extra buffer capacity or spare host to evacuate the host during the upgrade cycle. Right? So that is our last question for architect. Now let's talk about some study guide and tips for you, right? So please, before you go through the exam, please understand the exam scope, review the architecture components, installation and configuration, especially if it's going to be an admin exam, components, security, monitoring, troubleshooting, as well as lifecycle management. So you need to understand how all vSphere components work, how ESXi runs VMs, vCenter, how it manages centralized the ESXi's as well as cluster provisioning, right? You may need to know how to install configuration management, networking, as well as storage. When it comes to vCenter, well, vCenter is the control plane that for everything. So you must understand the deployment steps, how to organize resources, set roles and permissions, as well as protecting vCenter. Now, when it comes to networking, you need to this is one of the questions or areas in which a bulk of answer questions comes in. So you need to know how VMs and hosts communicate, right? Design redundancy with VM kernels, um, and of course the adapters, the motion management, vSAN, right? So that is also you may also want to look into the daily VM operations, right? Configuring VMs, hardware versions, hot added CPU and memory, templates, content libraries, as well as snapshot best practices. I think we have a question a while ago about HA, right? So these features or DRS or vMotion, uh, these features make vSphere enterprise grade. So the exam test failover behavior, resource balancing, migration requirements, right? Right now, recommended study materials, please only use VMware official courses. If you want to go for the training, please use, you may reach out to our EDPs as well as if you have account in learning at Broadcom, please only use VMware, official VMware courses. We do have free VMware hands-on lab. You may I will be putting the resources in another sheet once we've shared it with you, so you can check out all the required hands-on labs that are available as well as the links for the training and also the list of VEDPs on your location. Only use official VMware documentation. So it is free, it is available. You may just look it in techdocs@broadcom.com. So you may check it from there, right? I also be providing you with the 6-week study guide. If you want to have a 6-week study guide, first week you have to focus on the architecture and foundation. You may want to check what is VMware Cloud Foundation, what is the architecture overview of each and every components, and the release version, right? For section number 2 is deployment, right? So how the VCF installer works, how the management domains being bring up, the host commissioning, the decommissioning, workload domains, how are you going to create the workload domains, and networking, right? Management, vSAN, vMotion, and NSX. For week number 3, it is focusing on solutions, especially vSphere, and which includes ESXi and vCenter. So ESXi configuration, vCenter admins, creating of clusters, lifecycle, right? Images versus baselines, as well as vSAN basics. So what is a disk group? What are storage policy, as well as fault domains. For week 4, it's mostly on the NSX administration, right? So what is NSX? The architecture, how overlay network works, transport zone, tier 0, tier 1 gateways, right? And management, networking management for the VI workload domains. For week number 5, it is the goal here is to master the lifecycle manager of BCF, right? The understanding of the update sequencing as well as rollback strategies. So BCF lifecycle manager, certificate management, backup and restore of vCenter, NSX, as well as the other components. Now for week 6, it is mostly on the troubleshooting and then review, right? Strengthen your understanding with real-world issues, review the blueprint, right? And practice the best practices, right? And then prepare yourself for the exam.